The sands of Egypt whisper long after the world forgets, even when names are buried beneath broken stones. Even when the constellations shift, the wind remembers, and tonight, so do we. Welcome, sleepy traveller, to Tales for Tired Eyes. You are listening to Letters to Khemu, a soft-spoken sleep story series inspired by Assassin's Creed Origins. These are the whispered recollections of Bayek of Siwa, a Medjay, a father, a blade once bound to justice, now tempered by sorrow. Each week, we unfold a new letter, written not to kings or gods, but to the boy he lost, to a son who once gazed at the stars and believed he could name them all. Within these letters live the echoes of the desert, of stories once told beneath moonlight and fire, of ancient gods and fragile dreams, of a bond too sacred to die. So now, if this story speaks to you, place your feather upon the scale by subscribing to my channel, so you can return when the wind carries the next letter. A new tale is left in the sand every week. Let your mind quiet now. Let the desert hush your thoughts. And join us for Letter 0, the first silence. Night has wrapped itself around the desert like a linen shroud. The air is still, save for a hush of wind curling through an ancient doorway, a whisper through stone, a language older than memory. Somewhere deep within a ruin, beneath walls carved by hands, long returned to dust, a fire burns, small, defiant. Its light flickers across time-worn statues, faded gods whose faces have cracked beneath centuries of sand and sun. One such figure, Amun, the Hidden One, gazes out from the far wall, half erased, his eyes lost to erosion, yet still watching. Bayek sits at the base of the shrine, his back straight but weary, his robes thick with the dust of the day's ride. A pack rests nearby, a water skin half empty, and nestled in the crook of his arm, a worn scroll, still blank. Above him, the moon is high, full and pale as bone. Senu watches from a broken archway above, tucked into the stone like a spirit guardian, her head turned just enough to keep him in view. The only sounds the soft crackle of fire, the sigh of old wind through columns, and the faint breath of a man who has held too much inside, for far too long. Bayek's hand hovers above the parchment. He has written many things in his life, edicts, names of the condemned, orders of the blade, but never this, never a letter to the one who mattered most. He closes his eyes for a long moment. When they open again, they glint, not with rage, but something softer, something like longing. And then, for the first time in many years, he writes,
My son, I write this with trembling hands, not from fear, no, not from the cold, though the desert night bites at my fingers even through the wrappings, but from the weight of what I have carried. It has been many years since I last said your name aloud, and longer still since I dared speak to you, even in thought. I thought if I kept walking, if I kept my blade sharp and my enemies close, the silence inside me would fade. But silence does not fade. It deepens. It grows teeth. And in the end, it devours everything that is not you. Khemu. There, I've said it, written it. Let it take form again in the firelight. Your name lives, at least here, scratched into parchment, cradled in ink. A name I once whispered to the stars. A name I sang into your sleeping breath. Do you remember how we used to lay beneath the stone circle just beyond Siwa? The sand still warm from the day. The sky above stretching forever. Full of gods. Full of stories. You would grip my wrist, your voice already too wise for your years. Tell me again, Baba. Tell me how the stars came to be. And I would. Every night until the gods themselves must have grown tired of hearing my voice. But you never did. You listened with eyes like dawn, as if every word I spoke shaped your world. And I believed you would live forever in it. I trained you to be Medjay, not so that you would fight, but so that you would understand what it meant to protect, to watch the balance of Ma'at, to shield those who could not shield themselves. You were never meant to carry a blade, Khemu, but a torch, to light the way through the darkness that still clings to this world. And yet, it was my hand that stole your light away. I have told myself many lies since that day, that it was fate, that it was not truly me who struck the blow, that I was merely a piece in a cruel game the gods had set in motion. But these are words for cowards, and you, my son, you deserve the truth. I failed you, not in the moment I held the blade, but in the 1,000 choices that led us there. The 1,000 moments I should have walked a different path. I write this now, not to be forgiven, for I know I do not deserve it, but because I can no longer bear the silence between us, even if you are dust. Even if you have moved beyond the field of reeds and walk among stars I can no longer name. I must believe that some part of you still hears me. I must believe that memory, true memory, is its own kind of afterlife. And so I will write, until my hands forget the shape of a weapon, until my heart learns how to hold something other than grief. This is the first letter, but it will not be the last. Do you remember, Khemu, the time you told me that stars were gods who had forgotten how to speak? You said their silence was not cruel, only ancient, older than sand, older than Nile. That is why they blink, Baba. They are trying to remember how to speak to us. And I believed you, because when you said things like that, the world felt as if it made sense again. You had this way of turning wonder into wisdom, of asking questions that made even the gods seem small. Why do crocodiles cry when they eat? If we buried a broken jar, would it grow into a new one? Do camels believe in anything? The last one nearly made me choke on my lentils. You were so serious, as if the fate of the world depended on the beliefs of camels. I remember your face in firelight, the way your brows furrowed when you were deep in thought, like you were trying to outthink the universe. And when you laughed, by the gods, when you laughed, Khemu, it was not just joy, it was music. It would erupt from you like a Nile flood, all teeth and breathless wonder. Even Senu would ruffle her wings and cry out, as if she too could not resist the sound. You used to chase her in the courtyards of Siwa, remember? Screaming, barefoot, arms outstretched like a mad ibis, convinced that if you just ran fast enough, you'd take to the skies beside her. And then you did, once, for half a heartbeat. You jumped from the rooftop with nothing but a blanket tied around your shoulders. You said it was your wings. I said it was your funeral. You broke 2 clay pots and bruised your knees. But when I reached you, ready to scold. You looked up at me with bleeding palms and grinned. Did you see? I almost flew. And I could not bring myself to be angry, because in that moment, you were more alive than I had ever been. You believed in everything, in magic, in kindness, in justice, in the idea that one boy could change the world with enough questions. You told me once that you wanted to see every stone circle in Egypt, to speak to every star, to climb the Great Pyramid and shout your name so loudly that even Amun would hear you. And I laughed, not because it was foolish, but because I knew you meant it. I see you still in dreams, Khemu, not as you were in that final moment, not with blood or silence, but in 1,000 softer memories. Your fingers trailing through the Nile's current, your voice reciting the names of the gods as if they were friends, your shadow dancing between olive trees as the last light of day followed you home. And in these dreams, you are not gone. You are simply ahead of me, waiting at the next circle of stones, pointing to a star I've yet to name. The fire burns low now. The shadows stretch longer across the walls as if even the gods are leaning in to listen. Senu stirs overhead. One soft rustle of feathers, then stillness again. And I find myself reluctant to stop. I did not expect that, Khemu. I thought this would break me, to write your name again, to peel open wounds I've buried beneath ash and blood. But instead, it has reminded me that even pain, when spoken aloud, can become something holy. This letter, the first of many, is not just ink on parchment. It is the breath I forgot how to release, the weight I no longer wish to carry in silence. I will write to you again, not because I believe my words can reach beyond the veil, not because I hope for your forgiveness, though gods know I still crave it, but because I must, because memory, if left unspoken, fades. And you, my son, you must not fade. I will write to you when I return to the circle of stones, when I pass the twisted fig tree near the place you used to hide, when I see another boy, just your size, chasing birds beneath the palms. I will write when I am strong and when I am not, when the blade feels heavy and when I forget why I carry it. And perhaps one day, someone will find these scrolls, tucked into some ancient crevice, buried with me beneath desert stone. And they will know that I was a father before I was anything else, that I loved a boy named Khemu, with stars in his eyes and a question on his tongue, and that love was not lost, not to death, not to time, not even to me. So sleep now, little hawk, fly wherever the wind carries you, and I will write again when the silence calls. All my love. Bayek.